Hello everyone, Caleb here with Texas Quality Assurance, and this video is going to be about defining your training classification groups in this training classifications area. So if you remember from maybe the other videos, we talk about the role that the training classification groups plays in the overall competence and training area. And what this is going to be is this training classification group is going to be assigned to an employee. So we'll go to the employee list, we'll tell them which one of these groups they're in, and then the system is going to go and say, okay, if an employee is part of, let's say, shop level 1, that employee needs to have all of these required trainings. If not, their name's going to show up on the list. So we've had questions as far as like, hey, I've got 100 employees here. What's the best way to kind of determine, first of all, what my groups are, and second of all, what trainings are a part of which groups and which employees belong in which groups. So I thought I'd just make a video here to kind of talk about the best way to probably approach that. So let's go over to the employee list area, and what we want to do is probably export this to Excel. We'll go ahead and do that. It'll open up a file here, or it'll save a file. You just go and click on the file, click open file. You may need permissions based off your IT settings, that kind of thing. But what it's going to do is it's going to open up an Excel spreadsheet with all of your employees. And I've removed a few columns here, leaving the employee department. And this is how we'll go ahead and take a look at this. So if you have the department on your employee list, or maybe you've got your job descriptions already set out, which employees are part of what job descriptions, you could add that here also. But really what you're trying to look for is similarities in employees and their training needs. So very commonly, job description is going to do that, employee department is going to do that. So the first thing you might want to do is go ahead and sort by employee department. And what this is going to do is it's going to group these employees, by their department. So then you can start to think to yourself, okay, we've got these different departments. What are the trainings that each of these departments need? Or let's say you chose to do job descriptions, or let's say you chose to make up your own groups, and you're just using this to identify the similarities. So the next thing you're going to want to do is go in and pull out this data. I would just, copy it, whatever. So we can come over here. This is going to be our administrative group, and then we're going to pull all the employee names from whoever's, part of the employees or administrative group here. And then, we can kind of do that. And then the next thing we're going to want to do is start listing out what trainings those groups required. So if you've already defined your training library, you could even bring that information over and then just kind of have a list over here that you can pull from. Or if you have just a written down list or something like that, or if you're just pulling this from your head and you haven't even established your training library yet, you just start listing off, okay, anybody in this group is going to require all of these trainings. So you could say new hire, you could say sexual harassment. You could say word processing or document control, just giving examples here. So you start listing out all of these trainings here, and then you make sure, okay, so all of these employees need all of these trainings. Well, what if Alan over here, he does payroll? Well, if all these other employees don't need payroll, then Alan's going to have to be a part of his group. So you could have this be administrative 1. So then you come over here and you say maybe administrative 2, because Alan's got to have his own group because he does payroll. So let's make 2 there, and then we'll have Alan, and I'm just going to cut him out of there so that he's so that you're keeping all these separate. Because remember, an employee can only be a part of one training or one training classification group, and you'll start to see overlaps here whenever you're developing. Let's say you're moving on over here to field support, right? Well, field support's going to require new hire. Field support's going to require sexual harassment. Field support may even require word processing. So you'll start to, this will get pretty redundant, but again, from the other video, you're defining every employee's training path here. So as you kind of get through this and you start to recognize, okay, well, I have all these employees, and maybe there's only 1 or 2 people per group, and it's just getting pretty crazy. you might need to stop and think to yourself, okay, what are the required trainings? Am I forcing myself into too tight of a space here by requiring too much? Just because an employee takes a training and tracks a training doesn't mean that it's necessarily required. Maybe from our other example or our other video where we talk about a welder who can also drive a forklift, or yeah, we want to know when their forklift cert is expired, but is that a required training for a welder? So you may want to take a step back and say, okay, what's the bare minimum trainings that I need to require? If you find yourself getting, having to create administrative like 7 or something like that, and you only got one person. But that does also illustrate the flexibility of the system. You could even create a group for every employee here, just to make it super simple to figure out, but it wouldn't make it very simple to track. So just some ideas as far as how to start to pull this data apart. Really, you're just looking for similarities, you're looking for overlaps, and you're looking to try and create the least amount of different training classification groups possible. The next thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go in and actually create these entries. So once you've defined all the groups you're going to need, and you've listed all the trainings that are a part of each group, you'll go in, you'll click new, you'll create whatever name you come up with. So sample group, let's say 4. All right, and then you're going to go back to your sheet and you're going to say, okay, sample group 4, what are all the trainings that we decided they need? You'll come back here, and then you'll just highlight and select any of those trainings. And you can search, that makes it a little easier. And then you just start adding those, and then you'll save it at the end. And then now you can come back and say, okay, any employee that I assign as a training classification group of sample group 4, they're going to need all these trainings in the competence and training area. If not, then their name's going to come up on the report. And then your last step is going to be to actually go through to your employee list, and then you're going to make sure that all of your employees are in the correct training classification group. So let's say we want to put gal here into that new group that we just, that's the department. We'll put them in that sample group 4 we just created. We'll hit save, and then now they're on the right track to competence and training. So if you have any additional questions or you need more information about how to export that data, by all means reach out to us, and hope you have a good rest of the day. Thank you.